Hello there, I'm William, and I'm going to make a project using JUCE from scratch. And this project is going to be Wusik Station XL. And I'm just going to go from the very basics of how to create the plugin. And at some point, I'm going to start copying and pasting some old code, but to update it to run a bit better. But okay, so let's start. The first thing we need is JUCE. JUCE.com is where you have to go to check what is JUCE and how to use it and everything else. But in this video, I'm going to give you the basics. So if you go to the GitHub, I'm going to put the link in the description of the video. But if you go to the github.com and you go to code, download zip, you're going to download the whole framework, the whole JUCE framework latest version. The version I'm running is from the January 27, 2022. So already downloaded and extracted to a folder here on my computer. So here it is, JUCE 2022. So the first thing you need to use JUCE is the producer, which is the application that allows you to create the projects so you can run on Windows, OS 10, and Linux too. But I'm going to focus only on Windows programming. So you go to the extras folder and then producer, builds, and then you find the build for the machine that you are running. So in my case, it was Visual Studio 2017, and I just opened the project file. Not this one, this one. So I open on Visual Studio. I select release because by default it's going to be debug. I'm going to select release, and then I just go build and build solution, and it's going to compile all the files required for JUCE to run for the producer application. Then when it's done, you just go to and search for the producer application file. On Windows, you just go on the release app, and it's going to be there, producer. And I just copy this file here to my Wusik Station XL folder. So there it is, producer 2002. And since I already had something loaded, is going to load the last project that I was using with JUCE. So let me make this bigger. And I want to create a new project in this version. So I'm going to go to File, New Project, and it's going to allow me to create several types of projects in here. And I'm going to start with Plugin Basic. So I can check which modules I'm going to use. Just going to use the default ones, but with time I can change this if I need. And I'm going to export to JUCE 2017 to Visual Studio, sorry, so 2017. And file creation options I'm going to leave as default, so it creates a processor and an editor for my plugin. Just let me adjust the microphone. Okay. The cable was getting on the way. So I just go and click Create Project now. It's going to ask me where to create, so I'm going to put on Wusik Station XL. And I'm going to create a new folder here. JUCE project. Select folder. And there it is. Now I have my new project. And I'm going to go here on let me make this larger again. I'm going to go and click on the wrench here next to new project. There I can set the name. So Wusik Station XL. Version I'm going to leave empty. Company name is Wusik.com. Copyright 2022. Website. Use global app header. I think I can use this. This is new to this version. I have to check what it is, but for now I'm going to leave it everything disabled. Audio plugin. The plugin formats I'm going to define as VST3, VST Legacy, and standalone. Characteristics of this plugin is going to be a synth with MIDI input, and that's it. Wusik Station XL. Plugin manufacturer code, if I'm not mistaken, is Wusik X. I have to check. It's 4 letters and numbers. And then the plugin code, I'm just going to put Wusik SL. The plugin channel configurations, I'm going to put 2 inputs and 2 outputs. You can check here on the information how to arrange this, but it's basically just 2 inputs and 2 outputs between brackets and with a comma separated input and output, and everything else is not relevant. Category synth, it looks good. The modules, I'm going to use the basic modules. The file explorer is going to allow me to change the file name, so I have the plugin processor and the plugin editor. I like to leave like that because all my projects use that name. And on exporter now, I can go on Visual Studio. I can check the VST Legacy SDK folder, which I already set, and this is the default one. I may need, for ASIO support, I may need to add another folder, because if I go here on JUCE, JUCE audio devices, I have ASIO disabled. I'm going to enable. WhatsApp is enabled. Direct sound is enabled. It's the 2 most important ones. And let me check where is my ASIO files. If I don't, let me check another project file because it's just easier to copy. So let's see. So SDK. Oh, here. Work ready, ASIO SDK. I just have to change from letter D to C because I changed my drive lettering scheme some time ago. So I just go now here on the exporter and put a header search paths. I just put the ASIO files in there. I'm going to supply all the header files for the ASIO and VST2 in the plugin, in the video description, so you can download from there, because Steinberg made a dick move and is no longer allowing people to download VST2 header files, only to those who filed a form before they remove it. And legally, you can't use VST2 anymore unless you have a file form filled with Steinberg, but that's just stupid because VST3 is not used by everyone. And I'm not going to go into that route. I'm not going to talk about VST2 versus VST3, but all I can say is that I doubt that Steinberg is going to sue every little guy that's still doing that and has no form filled. I have my form filled, so I can use, and they can't bitch about it. And what you can say if you're using and they complain, you say, "Well, I filled the form. If you didn't receive it, it's your problem." Just go like that, because what they did was very bad. But anyway, let's continue with this. So I'm going to go on the debug, release the binary name. I'm going to change to Wusik Station XL. I'm not going to put debug. Here I'm going to put debug. Okay. Debug mode enabled. Binary name is going to be Wusik Station XL, and the same for the release code. And just the binary location, in my case, I put this on the VST plugins folder, which my Reaper copies is searching for plugins there. But most of my testing, I'm going to use this standalone for testing. Link time optimization, I'm going to disable because this is slow, very slow, and is annoying to use. And on the Visual Studio Windows 10 platform, I'm going to put 8.1, so it's backwards compatible with more stuff. I'm not going to put compatibility for XP because that's just crazy. Like 0.1% is still using XP, so there is no really need for that. And I'm doing the 64-bit version here, so there is no 64-bit support on XP. Well, there was a XB 64-bit version, but was not very good. There's some videos on YouTube on why it was not great. So that's pretty much it. So I can go File, Save Project. And if I want, I can click here on the Visual Studio logo, and it's going to open directly there with all the files ready. Just before I go there, let me just double check one thing. File, Global Paths. So I have my JUCE 2002 path selected because I have older versions of JUCE installed on this machine, which I was using until now. This is the first time I use the latest version. So okay, it's all correct, the paths. So I can go to the Visual Studio. Sorry, I keep confusing the names. I'm going to change to release. And if I go here on the share code, Wusik Station XL, source, then all the code is in there. That's the code we're going to be messing around and create stuff for that. I like to clean the code a bit before I can continue. But this is the base code with 3 inputs, 2 outputs. And I'm just going to press F5, it's going to compile and start the plugin with the editor already. The standalone always open the editor because there is no standalone version without the editor, because it's just an application. So now the plugin always open without the editor open. Depending on the host settings, of course. If your DAW host is set to always open after you install any plugin, add any plugin to any track, it's going to open. So here it is. That's the plugin. Let me minimize everything else. That's the plugin running. Audio input is muted to avoid feedback loop. Okay. So let me disable my audio input, and then I can disable the audio input mute. Here I can select the MIDI inputs and everything else. And audio is already working. There's a hello world message, a size for this window. Because since this is deriving from the plugin, the editor always have a fixed size and there is no maximizing option unless you hack this code for this window. Well, not hack, you can modify this code, but I'm not going to this into the details about how to do that because there is no need for that. Our interface is going to be always on screen, and that's that's it. That's how it's going to work. So, okay, we have the plugin working now. And what's up with the plugin processor and editor? The processor is going to be where your audio is processed, and the editor is going to be what shows on the screen and allows you to edit things that will change settings and details for your plugin audio settings. So let's say you have a filter on a plugin editor, you can have a knob which is going to change the filter frequency and resonance, stuff like that. Audio gain, input and output. So the editor is going to be your interface. They call it editor because the first version of the VST plugins, they had this name for editor, and Cubase had an E, small low caps E, that will open the editor and close the editor. So we're stuck with the editor name, but it's basically the interface, the GUI, graphical user interface. And then on the processor, you have other things that I'm going to explain now. So let's go to processor header file, and I'm just going to clean a bit this file. Put my copyright and my name there. I just like to make it all the same. And there are a few things that I do that annoys a bit some people, like this, putting the brackets on empty lines. But I have some severe OCD, so there's not much option for me. And I always do like this, my line divisions from stuff. So that's just how I organize things. You don't have to do like that. And just forgive me for doing like this way because of my OCD. It's just how thing works. So on the editor, we don't have a lot of stuff. We have the paint and resize, but let's start with the plugin processor. I'm just going to clean a few things. Oh, sorry. There's my line. So I have the new project audio processor. I hated that. Let's change that to Wusik Station XL processor. I'll open documents, change it. And on the editor, that's ugly too. Let's change it. Processor, editor. Just nitpicking a bit, a few things here and there. So, okay, you can put this all together here. These I don't need. Preferred channel configuration. If your plugin requires some checking for buzzes and other things, you have to use that. But Wusik Station XL is not going to be using that, so I'm not going to explain on this video about this because it will make too long and too many stuff to deal with. So prepare to play. Release resources I'm not going to use for now, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Process block, create editor. I have to check. No, I have to do it from the other place. Has editor is going to be true. It has already created this, but I'm going to remove from the plugin processor window, so the file looks a bit more clean. Then as I start to do more code, I'm going to start dividing things to get things more, clean. So let's see, where's the has editor call? Here, has editor. So it's just going to return true. Create editor is going to return the Wusik Station editor. So I'm going to leave this in here because I can't do this on this header here. So get name, it can be just return Wusik Station XL. I keep forgetting I don't need these on the end of the line. Accepts Midi, so it's going to be return true. Produce Midi, return false. It doesn't create any Midi. It's not a Midi effect, so returns false. Tail, this is for effects, so in case of this plugin, it's just 0. Don't have to worry about it. Get number of programs. Oh boy. For now, I'm going to return 1, but I want to change this because it's a bit complicated. We'll talk about this in another moment, but for now, I'm just going to return 1. Get current program, return 0. Set current program, we just override. Get program name, return init. Change program name, we just override and do nothing. Get state information, set state information, we're going to have it. So, okay, this looks much more cleaner, and I can remove a lot of stuff from here. So get name, sets MIDI, produce MIDI, MIDI effect, get tails, program number, current program, set current program nature. All these are going to remove it. Prepare to play is very important. It's called right after the plugin is created, and it's going to tell you the sample rate and the samples per block. Because in the new JUCE code, we don't have changes in the sample rate as you ever. So that is that. So the create editor gets information. All these are going to put this on top before the process block. But I'm actually going to move this process block into another file, so it's not going to be too many things in here, because soon we're going to have a lot of stuff. The same goes for the set information and get information. So right now I have the create editor, prepare to play. Then the get state and set information. It's going to be one of the last things we do, probably. I don't know yet. And all these are going to to remove for now, but soon I'm just going to start with my own code, because I have other things to worry first. And this is going to be the parameters. So okay, so I have the plugin processor and plugin processor file done. It's just something small that I changed. I'm just going to compile this just to be sure I didn't break anything. And you're going to see me compile a lot of times when I change something, so I'm sure that I didn't break anything in the process, because it's easier to check now than later. Okay, that's good. On the editor, I'm going to leave pretty much like that, because there's not much in the editor we can change. I'm just going to put my annoying OCD crap all over the place. So on the editor, you just have a few calls, and they're very easy to understand. But let's continue with the plugin processor because I go to an editor. So okay, the plugin gets created. It calls the plugin creating. Oh no, now got a blank in my memory. The class creator. What's the name again? I forgot. But it's going to create the class, and as the class gets created, it's going to call this guy. And when it's destructed, it's going to call this guy. The release resource, well, I don't have too much use for it, but sometimes the host, the DAW, can tell the plugin, okay, we're stopping now. You can release anything that you have in memory until you start again. But I never found any use for that myself, so I'm not going to bother too much about it. Prepare to play is going to be called next after the constructor. That's the name, the class constructor and the structure. Sorry, you have to understand that I have some issues with memory and other things. You can read about it on my website on wusik.com, where I explain about myself. Then you're going to understand. I'm not going to discuss in here. Then the create editor is called if it requires the editor to be created. Then it's going to set the information that the DAW is going to send any information that was stored. This create plugin is actually the first thing that's going to be called, but there's nothing you can change in here. It's just like that, and it's just that, nothing else. Then for every block of samples, if you don't know how a plugin works, it works in blocks of samples. So if your sound card has set for 64 samples, it's going to start sending 64 samples of empty or noise or anything to your plugin. If you set up input, it's going to send you something silence on an audio, and you have to process that audio and give it back. In case, since this is a synthesizer, for now, my plugin is just going to ignore the input and just worry about creating an output for those 64 samples. And some DAWs like Fruit Loops and in some other situations, DAWs like, I don't recall any other that does that, but Fruit Loops does, is going to send a different number of samples, not just the 64 samples of the sound card. So you can send 2 samples, then 62, or 1 sample and 63. It depends also in the parameters that are being changed as the audio plays back from the host, the DAW. So you can't really rely on a number of samples unless there is a call in the plugin code that you call that it tells the host to send in a fixed number of samples, but I don't know if that really works because for me it doesn't really work all the time. But you don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry that the variable buffer has a number of samples call, which is going to tell you how many samples you have to give back to the buffer. So in this case, the variable buffer is the input and is also the output. So if you need the input, and as you are going to mess up with the output, you may need to copy this to a temporary buffer. But in my case, I don't have to worry. I just ignore that totally. And you can see here that know the normals. This is a JUCE call, which is going to activate some processor stuff, registers, and it's going to avoid the normals. If you don't know what the normals is, just Google for it, but it's a problem when you try to manipulate very small numbers. So let's say you have a delay with feedback in your sound, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It gets to the point that it's so small that the processor may have some problems trying to figure out how to process it. Most new modern processors don't have this problem, but from my experience, they still crap out the CPU processing, and it's a really big of a mess. So we have to be careful with that. So here I get the number of input channels, the number of output channels. Personally, you can hate me or not, I hate the auto declaration because it sometimes seems I have some my own mental issues. I get confused because I sometimes I have to read, and I have a bit of dyslexia too, so it can be a pain for me. So I don't use auto. I hate it. But maybe you're younger than me and don't have any problems, so go ahead and use that. So just for testing, I'm going to here's clearing all the channels. I don't worry about that. And now here's going through all the channels. The channel data is going to be a float number, and then I can go like sample equals 0. Oops, sorry. Sample equals 0. Sample is lower than buffer. Get number samples and sample. So no. Total number of output channels. Samples. Total of samples going to be buffer get number of samples. So I'm going to go all the channels. I also hate this. All these new changes to C++ gets on my way. I'm old. I'm 47, so forgive me for that. I just like to do things my way. So now I have my sample. I'm going to go through all the samples in the buffer. And I'm just going to create a static just for static random. Hey, so it's not working. Let me try. There is no random. I have to set, what's the name again? Use name, use, I forgot how to use that. To set the name. Oh boy, sometimes I forget these smallest things. Dun, dun, dun. Just a minute, I will get there. Configuration. Where is it? Keep forgetting. Because they changed something in this version, so namespace. I closed the whole thing. Yeah. Let's go back. Select configuration now. Here. Use namespace JUCE. Use namespace JUCE. Huh. How to use that? Let me Google that. For crying out loud. Namespace use. I keep forgetting things that are so simple. Using namespace, okay. Using namespace JUCE. I don't have, because I'm going to use JUCE in the whole thing. There's no need for not having this. So, okay. On the constructor, I'm going to go random get set system randomly. So you're going to create a random seed from the system clock, I think, or IP, something like that. So now I have a random file here, random number. So float sample equals random next float. Let's complain. For the channel that data. You can see that sometimes I get on my own way. So now when I start this and change the sound card, let me lower the volume here on my input so we don't go too crazy. Options, audio settings, speakers. There we go. Now just have noise in there. Let's start again. There we go. Just something very simple. So we're checking for every channel, and for every channel we get the channel data, which is a bunch of float variables, up to the total samples. So we just go one by one to the total samples, and then you have the total channel data. And before we even worry about that, you have to check the Midi messages. But I'm going to do this for the next video. This is already very long, so it doesn't get too long for me to upload too. And I'm going to start doing some of the videos live on YouTube. Just subscribe to my channel and you can see there. And on the next video, I'm going to go for the editor and other things. So okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.